I was 7 years old and I was in my second grade classroom. When my teacher read us stories, we would call it read aloud. Mrs. Davis, who was my teacher at that time, usually read us short stories that we would read from start to finish the same day. For read aloud, my class would sit on my teacher's rug on the floor, with Mrs. Davis sitting on a comfy chair in front of us. One day, I was sitting with my class on her big zebra carpet in my assigned spot, which was on the front left corner of the carpet. We were getting ready for read aloud, and we were wondering what she was going to read us that day. Mrs. Davis said, "Today we are going to read something a little different. If you like it, we will continue reading it." She pulled out a chapter book called Dinosaurs Before Dark. It's the first book in the Magic Treehouse series by Mary Pope Osborne. In these books, Jack and Annie Smith are sent on missions and adventures by Morgan Le Fay. We had never read chapter books before, but Mrs. Davis read us the first few chapters, and we were all very captivated by it. I was so intrigued by the stories, and I would always try to visualize and paint a picture of what was happening in my mind. We made her read us several chapters every day, and we finished the first book pretty quickly. Then Mrs. Davis read us the second book, and the third, and the fourth, and so on. I told her that I loved the books, and she let me borrow them and take them home for me to read. It was my first time reading actual chapter books. I enjoyed the books and even went ahead of the class and read the others. I read all of the books in the series very quickly. My friend and neighbor, Evan, would read them too, and we would talk about them. We even acted out the books as the two main characters, Jack and Annie. He had a wooden playset in his backyard, and we would pretend that it was the Magic Treehouse. We were very imaginative and would get really into our role-playing. We would imagine that we were being sent on the missions and adventures that were in the book. Sometimes we would even drag his sister Sarah into it, and we would make her be Morgan Le Fay and send us on adventures. Evan and I were very dramatic and committed, so we sometimes exaggerated and improvised things. One specific adventure that I remember we acted out was from the book Dolphins at Daybreak. We mostly acted out the dramatic parts of the books. In this book, Jack and Annie are trapped by an octopus, but then they get away and are chased by sharks. Evan and I would pretend that we were swimming away from them, but we improvised that an octopus grabbed my leg when we reached the beach and was dragging me back into the ocean. To act this out, I was on the slide and Evan was in the treehouse, grabbing my arms and trying to rescue me. This was one of the most memorable adventures that we had acted out because we acted this one out several times. These books really made me enjoy reading, and after I finished, I looked for more books that were similar. I really liked the adventure part of the books, and it made me become more outgoing and adventurous. I would go to the woods by my house and explore them, acting like I was on a mission. In the woods, it was always somewhat dark since there were a lot of trees. I would always climb a tree that fell and was leaning against another. It was in a swamp, but I still climbed it as I was pretending that I was on an adventure. I used to think that life would be like the books, and I would be sent on special missions to help others. Without me realizing it, I also got to know some information about real historical events that took place in the books. The Magic Treehouse series really started my love for books. You could not pry a book out of my hands after I was introduced to them. From there, I began to read more and more. I started to read longer books and try out different genres. By the time I hit 4th grade, I was reading the Harry Potter books. I could even read 400-page books in one day. I still love to read, but unfortunately, I don't have a ton of time nowadays.